4 of mine.
14.
Episode 4. 14. Right, start again. Cut. Can you cut? Cut.
Yeah, we'll edit that bit out afterwards.
Get our editor to edit that out. Right, start again. Episode 14. I got excited, didn't I? So episode 14 of mine and what a terrible start. Anyway, episode 14 of mine and Tom's podcast. We're going to talk about don't make these gym mistakes. Hopefully, we'll give you good value from now because that start was terrible. But that's a lesson in itself. It's not how you start; it's how you finish. There you go. Twist it round.
Yes, very good. Very well. Yeah, you know what? We are obviously we spend a lot of time preparing these things and to make sure they are slick because it's got to be slick. Otherwise, people don't watch.
Yeah, we've probably lost half the people that were watching, but it's all good.
Anyway, gym mistakes, eh?
Yeah, let's start with some of the things that you see, and then we'll evolve from there.
Yeah, well, I would say one of the reason that kind of prompted my kind of our idea to talk about this was lots of new people are in the gym, and actually not just new people, but when I'm in the gym and I see a lot of people kind of wasting time in the gym. Now, I've done this in the past where when I used to use machines a bit more, and you do your reps and your sets, and then you sit there on a machine for your allotted 60 seconds of rest, and then you go again. And you think about you've spent probably 15 seconds in exercise, and then you've spent a minute doing nothing. Now you can use that time to your advantage and actually not waste it. And I've been guilty of this, and I still am occasionally. Or even if like staring into space, I see that a lot. People finish the set and they'll just stand there staring into space. And I suppose it's normal human behaviour, but there's things we can fit it with, isn't there?
Yeah. So of course, like it's important to have that rest period. But I think if we looked at the people probably in our circle, they're probably similar age to us, wouldn't they? They're probably following us and connected with us because they're a similar age, and obviously they're interested in what we talk about. And I think what's really important is probably looking at what. Obviously, it's important if you're lifting weights. So I think if we got to stress that this is probably talking about the time between when you've lifted weights in between sets.
Yeah,
this is not time between doing sort of cardio. This is between lifting weights, resistance. But of course, you need to rest because you need that recovery when you're ready for the next set. But I think there are things you can do, maybe mobility and stretching, which for our age upwards is probably hugely beneficial.
Yeah, and it's something that that quite often people will ask me about. Is more often than not nowadays. It's about kind of aches and pains and mobility and being able to move. And certainly, if you get into lifting weights, certainly heavy weights, the stronger you get, if you do nothing about it, the tighter you're going to get. And that's probably when you see kind of massive guys walking in the gym and they bet their shoulders don't move and their arms don't move very much. And they're super strong, but actually their ability to move about is probably diminished over if they could, I don't know, put their arms over their head or kind of move their hips a bit more. So, yeah, I think rest periods are good, but also you can use them for simple mobility stuff.
Yeah, and I think following on from that, it would be looking at maybe if you are 40 upwards, accepting, recognizing that you can't train like you did maybe in your 20s. Yeah. Because as much as we don't want to admit it, I'm probably as guilty as anyone. But our bodies are aging. We can't train and recover like we did in our 20s. It's just not possible. Yeah. It's like we have a night out nowadays. Recovery takes twice as long as it did in our 20s. And it's the same with the training. We don't have as much testosterone. Our metabolism is probably a little bit slower. We need a bit of a longer recovery. So our training has to adjust. Yeah, it literally has to.
Yeah, and some of and it doesn't have to be. When you say about stretching, some people might think, well, I'm not sure what stretches to do for the best for my body, for what I'm doing. But I have some really simple ones which I think everybody could probably benefit from. Things like getting down in a really low squat. We spend a lot of time sat in desks these days, don't we?
Yeah.
And I would say most adults. I'm going to say that. Yes, I'm going to say most adults probably very rarely take their hips beyond. I'm sat here, I've got kind of maybe a 90-degree angle at my knees and a 90-degree angle at my hips. Probably very rarely take it beyond that. And if you look at babies have like perfect squat technique, don't they? They haven't been taught how to do it, but it's perfect.
Ass to the grass, babies.
Ass to the grass squat.
Yeah.
And like Southeast Asia, all those countries, China, Thailand, they've got the lowest instance of hip and knee replacements in the world. And in this country, we've got 500,000 people on the waiting list for hip and knee replacements. Maybe there's some morphology or different hip mechanics or whatever, I don't know, but there has to be something in the fact they sit and they eat and they talk and they do all that stuff and they take their hips to full range. So
we're definitely less mobile now than we ever were, let's be honest, aren't we? Because we've got more jobs where we're at home or we're at our desks, so we're going to be less mobile. It just makes sense, doesn't it? If you're walking to work every day or doing a job where you're active, you're going to be more mobile because your body gets used and you're used to movement. So I think doing some basic stretches and some basic like movements or mobility between exercises are really important. And look, it might not be the most exciting thing, and you're probably not going to look all like, if you're looking to get like jacked up, it's probably not going to be the thing that's going to like make you feel good looking in the mirror. But again, it's those things about thinking like long term. If you're struggling with mobility now in your 40s, what's it going to be like when you hit 50 and 60? That's when that's really going to have an impact on you.
Absolutely. And if you can't sit down in that kind of low squat with your bum really low down, with your feet flat on the ground, you're definitely not going to be able to do it later in life without practicing it. And there's ways you can do it, just supporting yourself like that, in particular, supporting yourself to sit back. You can even do it lying on, you can do the same position lying on your back, like, and pulling your knees into your chest, which effectively is the same position. So there's ways of regressing it. Again, if you don't know, ask somebody, me, Michael, whoever.
I mean, there's so much stuff you can get off YouTube nowadays. You could type in easily stretches for guys in their 40s, mobility for guys in their 40s, and it's about, again, it's just about committing though and doing it. And it might not be, like I say, it might not be the most exciting thing, but if you did 10 minutes at the end of each session, you're certainly going to be feeling a lot more mobile. You're probably going to ache a little bit less in the gym. You're lowering your risk of injury. So it's just one of those things that I think what puts people off, maybe sort of things like that, is like you don't really see the benefits. Whereas if you've had a weight session and you've got a nice little pump, your arms and shoulders are looking a bit bigger, you look in the mirror and you go, I've had a good session.
But that's why I do it in the middle. I do it. I used to worry about looking silly, I have to admit. I used to worry when I first started, I used to worry that people were looking at me and I'd look a bit silly doing like a little squat mobility by the machines with all these big guys.
Yeah.
But I just thought I'm still going to do them because actually I am getting older, and actually I'm probably 10 years, 15 years older than some of these guys. And you know what? If they come to me in 10 years time and they're as flexible as I want to be or wanted to be, you know what? Then we can have a conversation. So that was the way I kind of got it in my head. I'm not going to feel embarrassed because it's important.
Also, I imagine if if we spoke to some physios or some chiropractors, and you asked them a demographic and the type of things they're coming in with, you can guarantee it's people that have come in because they've pulled a muscle, because they've maybe gone to the gym and tried to do too much, or they're not very mobile, and they've pulled a muscle, easily, like picking up the shopping out of the car.
It's usually something silly, isn't it? It's usually something
those things that if you were more mobile and flexible, which is so important as we all get a little bit older, that you're just going to reduce the risk of injury. What else is like the sort of things that you see in the gym, like mistakes wise? Because we want to obviously give the guys listening some things to do, to really focus on, and some things that probably to steer clear of.
Yeah, I see. Is it maybe younger people? But I see maybe a little bit of ego in terms of how much weight people.
I've noted down ego. I don't make many notes for these calls, but I've noted down ego.
And there's a little bit of and do you know what? And I get that. And also I've been there as well, where you walk in and you go, do you know what? And like you sit down the machine and some guys got off it and the pin's in a certain place and you don't really want to have to lift it all the way up. But I made peace with that a long time ago. But at first I did find it hard because I couldn't lift the weight. And I would, and problem is if you start lifting more weight than you're capable of doing, then again, the only result is going to be injury. Maybe not straight away, but eventually.
Yeah. So I say it to my clients all the time, like, leave your ego at the door. And really look at, like, I call it like risk to reward, especially the things like squats and deadlifts where there's more than one like movement. So technique wise, really important that you could push it and deadlift or squat an extra 10 kilograms and really push it and put more of a toll on your body, and that risks higher. And that's like an ego because you want to lift more. We probably definitely did that in our 20s, whereas, you know, what's the reward to that? You lift a little bit heavier, but your risk of injury is up there.
Yeah.
And then if you can't train for 2, 3, 4 weeks, and then you have ongoing injuries after that, like, what's the point?
There's no. I know loads of guys with disc issues. I know loads of guys with disc issues, and probably not from gym, but from lift. That's from lifting, isn't it? That's from you get a disc problem. I'm sure there are other medical reasons, but generally it's from a dysfunctional movement done a lot. So lifting something small for 40 years badly, eventually your body's going to go, do you know what, fuck you. I'm not going to do this anymore. And that. So loads of guys I know about disc issues, and certainly you mentioned deadlifts. I would say that's probably one of the best exercises you can learn to do, but also it's probably it's probably one of the easiest ones to get wrong. And and that bendy back thing that you see, and you look at it and you go, oh, it's just pain, isn't it? It's just eventual down the line pain.
100%. So it's about leaving your ego at the door, and again, just having that acceptance that you're probably not going to lift as much as you could in your 20s and 30s. You might be able to, and that's cool. But if you can't, it's only your brain that knows the difference of what you used to be able to lift. So you've got to just almost turn that off a little bit and go, do you know what? I'm still in the gym. I'm still lifting. I'm still in the gym. If I can be consistent as opposed to really pushing it and maybe get injured. And look, sometimes you may feel really good and you want to push it, but just remember, like, is it your ego that you want to do that little bit more, or the people around you, or like, I don't know, maybe there's some hot chick in the chair next door to you and you're thinking, right, I'll push it. Or what are you doing it for? It always comes back to, like, what are you doing it for? And if you want to go in and lift as heavy as you can, you're probably, I don't know, you might not be, but you're probably not necessarily doing it for the right reasons. It should all be coming down to, like, to me, like, health, performance, longevity.
Yeah. And like you said, risk and reward. Are we going to do, I don't know, Bosu ball back squats with a bar? I mean, which I've seen on Instagram. I saw a guy doing, like, I don't know if you know what, was it a Bosu ball? Was it a Pilates ball? Anyway, it's balancing on something, doing a back squat, and everyone going, high five, that's fantastic. Why? There's so much risk involved with that, and the reward is, I don't know, a few likes on Instagram.
Looks awesome.
So risk and reward, I think, is a good thing. What's that?
Looks awesome on your Instagram, though.
Wow, yes. But I mean, for like normal guys like you and me, it's like, right, we're 40. We're not young. I don't want to be injured. Like the other week, I did an exercise which I actually hurt myself. I didn't hurt myself for doing anything badly. It's just for some reason, it doesn't agree with me. There's actually no need for me to do it. So, but I can do similar and get similar benefit from other exercises. So I don't know, forgotten that. So it reminded me again, actually, don't do that, because it does. The reward was a week's worth of back pain.
Yeah, and I think also, if you think about, I've had a client recently actually who, if he's watching this, he'll probably laughed, but I'm hoping he won't mind me sharing this. But he had a bit of a groin injury last week, and it was really, like, frustrating him. So he couldn't run, couldn't really do anything. All he could do was cycle in the bike, and even that was difficult. It was hard getting up off the sofa, and he only had it for a few days, and suddenly it miraculously sort of cleared up after 4 or 5 days. But there was almost like a quick downward spiral of probably think, some negative thoughts can come in. I can't train now, and training also makes you feel good in terms of, like, mental health and being positive energy, and it was like a quick sort of struggle, really. So if you think that can happen after 4 or 5 days, What about if you do yourself an injury like a back, which you can easily do squats and deadlifts, and you're out for, I don't know, 3 months? Yeah. Imagine you've built up after 3 months of getting into a really good place over here. So you've built up, you're consistent, you train, and you're losing weight. And then you get this to this height and you injure yourself, and then 3 months just goes down, 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 down. What's that going to do to your mental health as well? Yeah. Like a downward spiral.
I'm a lot more careful now than I was, in terms of like looking after myself and really thinking, I do a lot more kind of body weight stuff now, because I think, again, I don't know, I'm not sure exactly how you train, but I feel like it's less chance of me injuring myself, and I can still get the benefit, and I'm not lifting weights. So that's part of my kind of, how do I still feel good? How do I still keep healthy? And that's, you know what, that's the choice I've made. I'm going to stop using weights as much. I'm still going to use them a little bit, but I'm going to work out a different way of doing it.
Yeah, I think what you got to do as well is realize where you're at as well, in terms of like who you are and how you've trained. Like, I've been going to the gym and lifting weights since I was 19 years old. Yeah. So if I get a friend of mine that's never really trained, we come in and do the same workout, he's just not going to be able to do it. He's going to be aching for days, and he's going to want to push it because his ego as men, get a bit of competition. Whereas, I'm probably not. I don't really enjoy running that much. I have to do it for football. But if I had a mate that ran marathons each week and I try to keep up with him, I'm going to be fucked, aren't I? So you've got to recognize where you are. You can't be seeing someone else in the gym going, I should be doing what they're doing, because you don't know what their start point is, what their age is, what their background is. What's really important, I've definitely figured this out over the years, is you got to do what's right for you. Because you're like, same as the diet side of things, you can't follow someone else's diet. It's the same as you can't follow someone else's training, because, like I say, everyone's got a different starting point. So you got to, what is right for each individual.
Yeah, absolutely. And find your thing. And if you don't like what you're doing, stop doing it. If you're thinking, I don't know, I've got to go and do this thing, or do this workout, or do this class, or if that's how you're feeling about it, then maybe it's not the right thing. And finding that thing that doesn't feel like so much of a chore, I think is one of the key things about exercise, is finding that thing that works.
Yeah, because again, obviously we're talking about things to do in the gym and maybe not do. Like, you don't have to be training in the gym. You don't have to be lifting weights. It could be anything. A badminton class, a gym class, a home DVD, YouTube. There's so many things you can do. It's what's important is like something that works for you. And one of the best things I like having in my head, and I say this to all my clients as well, it's better to be effective than right. Mm-hmm. So we would probably always say lift weights, because resistance training and body weight exercise is so beneficial. But if you're never ever going to do that, but you could consistently do a HIIT workout 3 or 4 times a week, that's the more effective thing, isn't it?
Oh yeah, definitely.
That's how I started doing anything.
Yeah, I mean I don't know. My training's changed lots of times, because there's something that I've liked, that I've enjoyed and got into, and then it transitions and it moves. Like, I used to do home workouts a lot. I don't work out at home rarely now, because when I'm at home with my family. But before, when my kids were young, or maybe when I have children. Yeah, I think probably even before I had children, I'd work out at home, because I had a bit more time and a bit more space. And I really enjoy. Thinking back, it seems a bit strange, but I really enjoyed it. And I found these guys called Fitness Blender, and they had no music. It was just a guy going, right, we're going to do a workout, and it would just be him doing it, and I'd just follow it. And I remember my wife watching it, going, "What are you watching? This is weird." I'm like, "No, I like this." So I don't know, for some reason I like that. But
you know what? The thing is, you never know what you're going to get into. Like, I remember I've done the Insanity. That was good fun for a little while. Yeah, Insanity was good fun. If you're looking to train at home. I remember something called Billy Blank's Taibo boxing. Right. We did an abs one. Like, I think you've got to really think sometimes as well with exercise, you've got to go in with an open mind. So not necessarily follow someone else's training or what they do, but almost go in with an open mind of like, well, if I tell myself I don't like weights, is that actually true? Or is it that I don't like going to the gym because I think people are looking at me and makes me feel conscious? Because if you're telling yourself that, you're probably never going to go to the gym, and that's cool. But you might actually really enjoy weights. You just need to do them at home until maybe you build up your confidence, and then you go in the gym and you feel good. I remember having a client this is when I first started coaching. So it's about 4 years ago now, and female client, and she was like, I sort of like, I hate lifting weights. And I was like, oh, right, okay. Got into about 3 or 4 weeks into the program. We started introducing some weights. And then you know what she said to me? She was like, I completely forgot. I actually really enjoy lifting weights. She was like, I forgot how good it feels to like feel strong. But she sort of convinced herself that she didn't enjoy lifting weights. And then a couple of sessions in, she was like, actually, I actually do enjoy lifting weights. I kind of just forgot. And then she started enjoying running as well, like all these things. Because suddenly when you've had no energy and it's there, you're not going to want to do stuff, are you? And then suddenly your energy gets up there. You want to do stuff.
I think we all enjoy results, and that's the thing about that. Just made me. You were talking then. Actually, what your client was enjoying was actually the fact that she was changing, and so it's like, oh, do you know what? I'm really enjoying how I look and feel, and how my body feels, and it's changing. Right, what am I doing that? Do you know? And then I think our brains make that connection between, because actually lifting weights is painful, isn't it? There is
be. If it's not, then something's not right.
Yeah, but it's that kind of muscular working pain.
Yeah, you should experience some pain. Yeah. A good pain, not a short, sharp. I pull the muscle pain.
Snap that. Yeah, not one of those. But yeah, so I think I've never met anyone yet that said, do you know what, I really hate seeing these improvements to my body from working out.
Yeah, I really hate that my body's getting leaner and I can start to see a little bit of muscle. It just no one. Everyone likes to also, like, I think no matter anyone loves to feel like they're making progress and getting a bit stronger, getting a bit fitter, and that feeling of having a bit of a tough session. And I always say to my clients as well, like that's one in the bank for your future self. Like that, no one can take that away from you. That's like tallying yourself up for later life. It's like I say, one in the bank.
Yeah. I've got one more thing actually, which is just like we were nicely segueing into it.
Go on.
So that feeling about whether I'm progressive, the good feeling. One thing that I still don't see very often in the gym is anyone making any notes of their progress with when they are, say, if you are lifting weights, not making a note of what they're doing. So they don't have I used to have a pen and paper, and there's all sorts of apps and whatever you want to do it. But again, you have to keep track of that. I don't know. Today I've done 3 exercises. I did 10 reps of each, did 10 kilograms, 20 kilograms, 30, and just making a note of that. So one thing is when you go back in, you know where you were, and you don't have to think about it because I was there last time. Also, in 3 or 4 months' time, when you think, oh, I'm having a shit day, and I don't feel good, and not progressing, it's not working out, and you flick through your book and you go, oh, I'm lifting twice as much weight as I was. Oh, do you know what? That is good. That is progress. Marvelous. I feel good.
So I use an app called Strong.
So you use apps.
I use an app called Strong, which I've used since lockdown, and it's so nice to look back and tells me, like, as a calendar, tells me how many times I've trained that week, how many times I've totally trained, records what my last sets were, exercises, and then you can go straight in and lift what you did and see that progression. So yeah, it's massively important. There's apps you can do that in, or you want to be old school. That was me for a little while, pen and paper, but that's easy to get lost. And nowadays it's easy and never. One thing that I was going to say as well, don't skip legs. If you're a man,
like massive body, little stick legs.
Don't skip legs. Men often like to skip legs, but it's going to, increase your testosterone. Biggest muscle groups, it burns a lot of calories. Also, they're quite important, aren't they, for stability? So don't just be one of those big hench men without training legs, because
you look a bit silly, and you are, unfortunately, people are going to giggle a little bit when they see the skinny legs.
And then a couple of things I'm just going to finish. I just haven't got my charger, Nightmare, right? And I've got 7 minutes remaining, so I'm hoping this doesn't cut out.
So pro.
Absolute shambles today. And then I've just noted a couple of things down, just like there is no perfect plan.
Yeah.
Like there's no perfect plan. And sometimes it takes a bit of trial and error, a bit of patience, commitment to see where you are. I think I've spoken to so many clients who they try something for a week or two and they want to change things. Just want to change things. And it's like, well, you haven't given yourself enough time to see if that's going to work anyway. If you was running a business and you were changing things every 2 weeks, you'd probably be thinking, we haven't got all the data back yet, have we, to see what needs to be changed or tweaked. So give yourself time to see the changes.
And I guess I always think like 4 to 6 weeks is quite a good thing. Right, I've got this plan. I'm going to stick to it for 6 weeks. I'm going to see how it goes. And you're right. It's always trial and error, isn't it?
Yeah.
Does this work? Okay. I'll track my progress. Okay. That's worked. Okay. Or, I actually fucking hated that. I'm not going to, I haven't seen any progress. I'm not going to do that. Give it a little bit of time. It's not going to happen, unfortunately, straight away.
Yeah, I agree. And also if, I would recommend if you're trying to lose weight, take your weight, take your measurements, so it's then and do photos, so it's not just the weight on the scales.
Yeah.
If you're looking to build muscle, probably photos are even more important, and that takes a bit longer, I'd say, because you can normally notice weight loss changes, whereas you building muscle takes a bit longer. So again, don't just do weight, make as many methods of tracking as possible. Because otherwise, you're not necessarily going to see the changes, especially if you're trying to build muscle. You don't always see a difference in one photo to the next in 2, 3, 4 weeks. You need to give it a good period of time. But once you see the changes, then
I've had lose no weight, but 10 centimeters off the waist.
Yeah, and if you're not tracking that, hopefully you'd notice your
Okay, right. I think that was this kept me in. Right, I am still alive, so I'm going to finish off for Michael. I hope it's going to be a much more professional finish. So I hope that's helpful for you guys. Some things to watch out for. So not wasting your time in the gym. Make sure you're using all your time. Again, you're busy. You've got stuff to do. Make sure you're tracking your workouts. Again, Michael said he used a program called Strong, so you can use that. But good old pen and paper also works as well. I use a thing called Google Keep, which is just some notes as well. So, thank you guys. I hope that was helpful. I'm going to say bye for Michael because he's disappeared. We will see you next time in episode 15, hopefully with a charger on the battery and also with a kind of a better start. All right. Thanks, guys. Speak soon. Bye.